On this program, we've been talking quite a bit about how the most vulnerable populations are being inordinately impacted by coronavirus. That includes nursing homes. They are getting ravaged by this virus, but also a congregation of nuns in Westchester County is getting hit particularly hard. Maryknoll, it just lost 3 sisters to COVID and 30 others have tested positive. All of this causing expenses to skyrocket here in addition to the heartbreak as the sisters deal with increasing medical costs, cleaning expensive, and much more. We're going to talk about how you can help be a part of helping this order here. The sisters can certainly use your help. You can donate to the cause, www.maryknollsisters.org/coronavirus. We're going to keep that information up throughout our conversation. And for more on that, let's bring in Sister Antoinette of the Maryknoll Sisters. She joins us now. Sister, thank you very much for the time. I appreciate it.
Well, thank you very much, Richard. I really appreciate your time and the chance to be able to share with you and your viewers. Thank you.
Well, I can only imagine how horrible a month of April has been. In addition to the sisters that we've lost, as many as 9 priests, and I know not all of the causes of death have been able to be diagnosed yet, but it's suspected, as many as 9 priests have died as well, and you have so many others that are sick. Just share with our audience just how terrible the month of April has been.
In a way, it almost seems unbelievable. Sometimes I think like I'm living through a movie, and when I wake up in the morning, everything will be okay as it used to be. When the coronavirus, when it first started to come out and people started to be aware, we really began precautions right away to begin social distancing, to begin in certain areas of the house wearing masks. And I think there was a little bit of a false security. And then one of our sisters came down with the virus and she died. And we were just, we were struck to the heart. We could not be with her in her illness. We could not be with her as she passed into eternal life. And then another sister had the virus. And then in a way, I don't want to say it mushroomed, but all of a sudden we realized we were very vulnerable. Sisters still continue to pray in their rooms. We have no small group prayer together, but some of our sisters have been very creative. And so they've asked sisters from 5:30 in the morning until 11 p.m. at night. There's at least one sister at every half-hour interval here at Maryknoll who is praying for all those affected by the virus, not just us here at Maryknoll, but people throughout the states, people throughout the world. So if some of your viewers, if they have time at home, just take some time, anytime between 5:30 and 11, make yourself quiet, get in touch with God, who is holding us very gently at this time, and join us in our prayer for the world.
One of the hardest things I can imagine, sister, is that at their most delicate moment, they were alone, a lot of the sisters. I've spoken to so many doctors and nurses that are dealing with this horrible pandemic, and the families can't be there in the final moments of their loved ones. And doctors oftentimes, or nurses, have to, convey the thoughts, where obviously a spouse or a parent or a child would want to be there and deliver it themselves. That, I can imagine, has been acutely painful for how close an order you have that you couldn't be there for your fellow sister as she passed.
It is, and it's been extremely heartbreaking for us because we get a notice when one of our sisters here is near death. We gather around her bed and we have certain prayers that we say, some of the Psalms, some of the prayers from other books that we use, and accompany her on her final journey, on her journey into God. And then, Richard, when she passes, it is our tradition to sing the Salve Regina, which is a very heartfelt, And it has the tradition of 100 years plus of the Maryknoll sisters. That we cannot do this for our sisters is extremely heartbreaking. It has the effect, though, if I can use that phrase, of joining us with other people in the States, in the world, who cannot accompany their loved ones. I remember reading in the news a young girl writing of her heartbreak and saying that her father was dying in ICU and no one could be with him. So I think that maybe something positive, and I'm not sure if I should really use that word, but of coming out of the virus is that it's joining us all together in a common humanity, because all of us, wherever we are, we know love and we know what it is to be separated from those we love.
Sister, you have been around the world, and you've been to some of the poor parts of this globe. Would you have ever imagined that you would have seen the devastation that this pandemic has brought here? I mean, I would assume you would have expected to have seen it in some of the poor areas of whether it be Africa or Asia, but now you're seeing it in New York. It just seems, unimaginable.
It does. I was just, as you were speaking, I had two memories came to me. One was when I was visiting our sisters in Tanzania a number of years ago, and this was at the height of the HIV/AIDS epidemic. And to just see people walking along the road, going to graves, burying their loved ones, and just the what can I say? The feeling of powerless to do anything against this disease that was ravaging many people in Tanzania. That was one memory that came to me. Another one, Richard, that came to me was I was in Taiwan when we had the SARS outbreak. In a way, I feel, in a sense, I'm living deja vu, as Yogi Berra said, deja vu all over again, but on a much grander scale. I remember walking on a street in Taipei when the ambulance siren was going, and I turned and I looked, and I saw the ambulance truck go down, and the people in the hazmat suits, in the van. And I turned, and I was just so horrified at that. Never did I think I would see that here. So when I've looked on the news, and when I see the first responders who are so brave and really putting their lives on the line, I'm drawn back to that. I'm drawn back to a village in India when I was visiting there many years ago, and seeing the extreme poverty and almost the helplessness that folks lived in at that time, and knowing that that's a situation that we Maryknoll sisters would respond to. And now here, we're seeing inequality in our own country, and it's laying bare many things maybe that we dare not look at. So I'm drawing many parallels between what I have seen in my extensive mission career and travels around the world and what is happening right here in the United States.
You know, sister, for any of us who've gone through parochial school, you know that nuns are among the most selfless people on the planet, but they're also among the toughest. To that end, is part of this that your order doesn't reach out and say, help us, that you've tried to, in the beginning, maybe try to take too much on your own here, where you guys were on the front lines of this in many ways, in some of the most vulnerable populations. You guys aren't good at asking for help.
May I put it this way? I think we're good at asking for help for our missions. What is so different here is that now we're asking for ourselves. And it's extremely humbling. It's extremely humbling because we know that there are so many people out there who are so frightened about what tomorrow might bring. They don't know if they have a job. They don't know how to pay the rent, how to pay the bills that are coming in. And now here are the Maryknoll sisters saying, could you please take some of your widow's mite, if I can use the gospel expression, the widow's mite, and help us as we get through this. And it's not just to help us, to keep us comfortable at this point. But we want to get well so that we can then leave here and go out and give service back into the community.
Well,
And yes, we are tough.
and that's an understatement here. We have stories for more than an hour, sister. I have on the screen where people can go, and I cannot encourage strongly enough. If there is ever an investment in a person that will give back so many more times over, the sisters are the backbone, I've always said, of the Catholic Church, and they certainly can use our help now, given all the help that they've done. So please check it out. Go to maryknollsisters.org/coronavirus. Sister Antoinette, thank you so much, and you're in our prayers.
Thank you, Richard. You're in my prayers also. It's been my privilege to talk with you and your viewers. God bless you all. Thank you.
And on that note, I'd like to make an announcement. We here at RNN are making a contribution to help the sisters as they deal with these most difficult of times. We are donating as a company $10,000, and we urge you at home to do whatever you can. This is not only a vulnerable population, but these are people who for their lifetimes have given to others, and I think right now, especially given the pressing need, it'd be great if we could all do the same for them. All right, everyone. When we come back, the government, they're doling out trillions of dollars in relief funds, but is the money getting into the hands of the people who need it most? Unfortunately, in far too many cases, the answer is a definitive no. After the break, we'll explain why.